Alright, now that you watched Module 2, talking about differences between system, workstream, process, procedure, I think you learned a lot out of this already and get a different perspective on your business and personal work. But ICOR Mastery is all about getting your personal productivity system, your team's productivity system to the next level. And therefore we have these hands-on sessions, the action lessons as I call them. And here we have the action lesson for Module 2. We'll pick up what we learned from Module 2 about work streams and actually apply it to real use cases. And there wouldn't be a better use case than my own, right? I will show you how I created the work streams inside the paperless movement business, show you behind the scenes how I set this up so you can really see how this is done. I know it might be very overwhelming to you. There are so many things going on in your life, in your business, and you don't know where to start. So for this situation, going through this action lesson will be the best you can do. I'm certain after watching this action lesson, you will have your own work stream set up in no time. So let's dive into this without further ado. When I talk about complex situations, use cases, methods, then I'm always a fan of a common language. So ICOR to me is also a common language that I'm training you. By understanding what ICOR means, we will have a completely different way to discuss things in your digital productivity system inside the group coaching calls or one-on-one coaching calls. So here as well, I want to show you a common language for work streams that make it easier for all of us to create these work streams, and everybody will understand looking at these work streams what they actually mean. So there is something called BPMN, which stands for Business Process Model and Notation. And this is a standardized language for business work streams. And when you look at this, these are 92 plus symbols that you can use to create your work streams, your diagrams and all this. Don't worry. We are not using this. You don't need to learn them. Actually, in Miro, the tool that I use, the whiteboarding tool that I use to create my diagrams, they have 14 symbols for BPMN and some subcategories how you can optimize these. I think 14 is still too much. Let's make it easier. Let's make an ICOR version out of this. And this is only 6 symbols that we will use to create our work streams using the ICOR framework. So these 6 symbols, I think these should be very easy to keep in mind, and this will help us to set up a diagram in no time. So we have a start event and we have an end event, and you see the circle is bolder for this one. That's the only difference. Then we have this one, which is usually called as a gateway. We call it decision. It just stands for, is something completed, yes or no, and then you go a different path in your diagram. Then we have a document sign, so it could be a document, an item, a data object. This means like a task inside a database or database item, things like this. SSOT stands for single source of truth. This is your final destination for the information that you collect. Don't worry about this too much yet. We come to the back later. And then we have the process, the task. So when you think about Module 2, you learned we have the workstream, process, procedure, right? So this would be the process within the workstream. Don't worry, once you see me setting this up, everything will make sense. But this is what you should keep in mind when we talk about work streams inside the paperless movement, inside the ICOR Mastery. This is what I'm referring to. And then we have just, dotted lines. So this might be a sub-process. So you will see as well later on that is something, I don't count this as an extra symbol as it is just a dotted line out of this, and it's self-explanatory. So now let's get started. And how do we get started? Many of you reaching out to me, Tom, I don't know where to start. I have so many things going on every day and I really want to set up my work streams, but I don't know where to start. And the issue is you try to do it all at once and you always think about the start of everything and what is going on in general. And I want to help you with this strategy to get your work streams right. So just pick one final product in your personal work, in your business, in your team. What is it that you create on a recurring basis? An end result, an event. What is it that you want to achieve after you finished the work stream? It could be a product, it could be value creation that you made there, some blog post or whatever. So in order to explain this, I will pick blog post published. For an example, from the paperless movement, when we publish these blog posts, I will explain you now in detail how we create these blog posts according to the work stream that we defined inside the paperless movement in order to provide this high quality blog post. So the end result is clear. We want to have one blog post published. So next, think about what triggers this end result. What is it that leads to this blog post? In our case, it is the interviewee booking an event. So as soon as interviewee booked an event, it triggers everything that happens afterwards, including having the interview and so on, until we finally publish the post out of the recording from our interview. This is things that going through my head, and this is where I want you to get to. Think about the final result. Think of what started this, like an order comes in and you have to produce a product. So the end result is the product, and the order that comes in is the starting event, the trigger. And then ask yourself, what happens in between? And I just showed it to you. Everything came to my mind, like editing the recording and things like this. And this is what we want to add now to our work stream. We start simple. Just go through the process that you do anyway on a daily basis, on a recurring basis, creating these products. So in my case, it would be the interviewee booked an event. We create a community event post inside the community to let you guys know there's a new event coming up where we will have this interview. Next, we will do the interview. So I'm having the interview with this person and we are recording it. You guys can join live, chatting there and so on. Then I will edit the recording of the interview to provide this high quality recording to my members, where you have the chapters in there and it is condensed to the most important parts and so on. Then we create the blog post. Then we create the media posts and we schedule the blog post. So what's not included in here is the podcast. This is as well obviously part of the work stream, but I want to keep it as simple as possible right now to not making it too complex. You can go as complex as you like, but try to do it later on. What this means you will see later. I have it very simple here, and in the end of this action, you will see how complex we can get by keeping it simple in the beginning, instead of trying to add everything right away. Okay, so these are the essentials of our work stream in order to create this blog post, and we call this one the first level work stream. Why first level? Because we could say, well, what about create community event post? This is a work stream in itself, right? This is also a sequential thing that we do to create this event. So this could be the end result again, community event post created. We could then call this second level work stream. Then we use this, you see on the right side, community event post created. Then we can say again, all the different steps in between. Go to StreamYard and schedule new broadcast. So StreamYard is the platform we are using to having the interview. Then go to the community platform and make the events there. Create new event and add YouTube unlisted link and so on. Too many details. And I tell you what, then you can even say, StreamYard, how do you actually create this broadcast inside StreamYard? How do you do this? This is a work stream, right? So no. This is becoming far too complex. We don't talk about first level, second level, third level work streams. We just have one work stream. And this is the high level overview of the final end result. And this is our blog post. And we have the major process steps in between. So what do we do with these process steps? Instead of having a second level work stream, we call it process. And this process is collected inside an SOP and standard operating procedure. You can also call it work instructions. So we will just in the future refer to SOPs, right? So this is a document that describes in detail how you set this up, the whole different steps. So otherwise we will become already far too complex with a diagram. This is no longer properly readable compared to a document. On the other hand, when we only have a document instead of having the high-level workstream overview, it is too overwhelming going through the document. You don't see the bird's eye view on your workstream, and this is where we need to draw the line. We have one work stream, high level, and then it includes different processes. So this is how this looks like. We have a first level process This is, well, I call it because we are still in this community event post created thing. So this is the first level process. And then we have some sub processes or second level processes. And all these are described inside the SOP and not as separate work streams. Of course, this being said, if it is easier to describe certain steps inside a process using a flow chart or a diagram, this makes sense, but then it should be added to this SOP. No worries, if you're getting a bit confused now, you will see exactly what I mean when I show you my SOPs and so on in a bit. So let's get back to our main work stream, and this is how it should look like. We have our main work stream and the different process steps that we need to do in order to achieve our final goal, right? That we published a blog post. The interviewee booked an event, we're going through these processes, and then we end up with a blog post that is published. So each process is a first level process, and this is defined and described in a procedure, in a standard operating procedure, SOP. Right? And there we go. This is the sign that we talked about in the beginning, the symbols that we need to keep in mind. This is a process step. And you see already the symbols. We have the start event symbol, we have the end event symbol, and we have the task or process symbol that we have in between. So further simplifying this, what we just talked about, will make you realize something. So this is now our work stream that we defined. We said this part is the process, and the process is described in a procedure. Now, when we add some colors and we see that this is actually our system, so everything, all of this together defines a system that it's working in, and you see the colors, you know what this is? Yeah, maybe some of you already noticed it. It is the thing that we talked about in module 2. We have the system, we have the work stream, we have the process, we have the procedure. We go back, you see it is exactly the same structure. So it's sometimes important to understand and realize these underlying structures, that it's all the same. Although it looks a bit different here and more complex, in the end of the day, it's nothing different from what I already explained to you in module 2. So in module 2, I also explained to you that we can have several, and we will have several work streams in our business, in our personal life and so on. And all of these different work streams set up a system for a department. And this overall could be the system, the company. So the different departments build up the company. And then we have the interactions between the different work streams. Again, very overwhelming and confusing when you try to set up this picture first. You could do so to make some high-level pictures and just get a bird's eye view on the whole company and the different departments, how they interact. But many people try to do it all at once. They want to have the different departments, already all the work streams in there and so on. No, just pick one work stream that you just have in mind, that you do on a regular basis. Why I'm saying regular basis, because it's the highest return of investment. When you pick the thing that you do on a daily basis, working with your VAs or with your employees on a daily basis, with your team, then you have the highest return of investment to optimizing this process, right? So this is why I'm saying pick a recurring thing. And once you trained yourself how to set up these work streams, you can actually set up work streams in advance before you start working inside the work streams. But you will get there in no time. So yeah, pick one simple work stream. Maybe it is from your team, your business, your personal work. It works for all of these situations. So, and then just keep in mind, get started with the end result or event in mind. Always think about what is it that I'm actually produce? What is the value creation that I do on a daily basis in my business, in my life, the final product, the final event, and start from there and then reverse engineer your work stream until you have everything in between the start and the end. But talking about SOPs, this could be overwhelming again. Creating standard operating procedures. And I can tell you, I was working in big corporate with more than 300,000 employees in big pharma. So compliance was really important there. And we had SOPs over SOPs. I personally had hundreds of SOPs to learn. We had SOPs there, more than 80 to 100 pages to learn, all text. And this is what made me realize also you have to learn all this and you need to understand all this and work after this. The more complex, the more people need to learn there, the less likely it is that they really know everything that is inside the SOPs. So this is why it's so important in any company, no matter the complexity or the compliance, to simplify things. I'm 100% sure that most of the 80 pages SOPs we could have just cut down to 10 pages or even less if we have the right principle that I show you here. I call it the 3S principle. It is just simple wording, screenshots, and screen recordings. I think screen recordings is very essential because you can explain a lot more in a shorter time in a video than you can do with pages and pages of text where people need to study in order to understand this. And when you say simple wording, you can even go simpler. You can use bullet lists rather than paragraphs. So whenever I need to look up a SOP how things work, I don't want to scroll through a wall of text. I want to get what I'm looking for as quick as possible. So screenshots, very important. When you make screenshots, then try to also make descriptive screenshots. So what I mean by that, just don't only add a plain screenshot and add it there, but also add errors. Highlight things on the screenshot and so on, so people see directly what you are talking about inside the screenshot, or just look at the screenshot and already understand what it's all about. And screen recordings don't need to be hours of video recordings. It could be also a 15-second GIF animation. And what I'm using in order to create this, the tools Snagit and Loom. Of course, you can make screenshots for free and so on, but Snagit gives me so many opportunities to make a screenshot and add these descriptive items like an arrow, numbering, and so on. That is not as easily done in other screenshot tools or on the free versions. And the reason why I'm using Loom to make my screen recordings and not, for example, more complex or sophisticated video editing tools, because it needs to be low friction for everyone. All you need is a webcam and Loom, and you can go to your browser, you can start recording, show what you have on your screen, and that's it. It's automatically uploaded to Loom, so this means it's in the cloud and it's easily shareable. It will automatically transcribe what you said into written text, and you can embed it in so many other tools, and this is the reason why I'm using Loom. Whereas using a sophisticated recording software like Final Cut Pro, Adobe, or also free alternatives and so on, you always have to render this video out. You have a file there, you need to upload it somewhere, you need to know where to store it, and so on. So this adds a lot of friction. I don't have to think about this using Loom. So this is the reason why I'm using these two platforms. So why is Snagit also on the screen recordings? Well, this is great also for very short video recordings where I can create out GIF animations, snippets, very short video animations without a talking face. Whew. This was a lot, right? I hope you already realized a lot, but we haven't finished yet. Why? Because I didn't show you the real case situation, and this is what I want to share with you. We will go into the live demo now and show you around behind the scenes on the paperless movement how such a workstream looks like. Okay, so let's dive into this. Okay, and here we are in Miro. Again, this is the whiteboarding tool of my choice. I also have an online course about Miro if you want to learn more about this. It is for free for you guys. It's already included in your membership. Just check out the courses that's there, and I show you how to use it. This being said, what I have here, you can do on a piece of paper as well. It might be more convenient to update and change things later on, but to get started, low friction, guys. If you're a Remarkable fan, you can do it on Remarkable, as long as you're getting a clear mind about the work streams, and then you can refine this later on in different tools. It's all about getting started. So this is how the final result could look like, and this is how we work inside the paperless movement. So we have the interview work stream. That's the name of the work stream, the interview work stream. And well, this describes the process to create a blog post out of a live interview. What I can do now, I have go to Workstream doc, and you see this button here, you also see the buttons here, and this is all the icon for ClickUp, right? Well, the work gets done in ClickUp. This is the single source of truth in the paperless movement for our tasks and SOPs. That's how it is defined. This doesn't mean that you should use ClickUp. It might be something else. Just in our case, we are using ClickUp in order to do this. So when I click here, we will go to a Workstream general overview document. It's not the SOP, but I will show you all of this in a second. And here we have the different process steps. And as I described to you before, each process is defined in an SOP. Standard operating procedure. So I linked out to these different SOPs. Why? because here I have the bird's eye view on my process, but whenever I think, how should I set up actually the blog post? I just click here and it will open up, click up, it will go to the SOP that we created there in order to describe in detail how to create this blog post. And there you see it already on the side, right? You have the interview workstream, this one. So when we go back here, you see go to Workstream doc. So this is linking to this high-level document, and this contains all the subpages, which are the SOPs for the different process steps. You see what I mean? So everything that you see here is reflected in the sidebar here. So this is actually the process from start to finish, the different process steps as in form of SOPs. So we can follow the workstream the same way as we described it in our overview. So in this overview document, you see the subcategories as well here, and then we have some general information. For example, this workstream applies to the list in ClickUp where we have all these described, and I can show you later. And when I click here, I go instantly to the list where this document applies to, right? There we go. At the same time, when I'm in this worksheet, we see on top the resources, and there we go, interview workstream. If I want to learn how we work inside this list, I click here, and again, I go back to this overview. So that's very important to me. No matter where I am or my team member is, they should always find the relevant information to know how to work. This will decrease the back and forth between the team leader and the manager and the team big time. And whenever recurring questions come up, go back to your SOPs and update them. Make a video, maybe just paste a video call that you had with your member talking about this already. Always record it, add it to the SOP. You already have something in place. And whenever this question comes up again, you can say, well, we discussed this already. You can go to the SOP and check it out. Okay, let's stay in this high-level document. And there we have the workstream overview, you see. So we have Miro in here. I can actually, and this is why I'm using Miro, I can open it up without leaving ClickUp, and I already see the workstream here. Or I could click here and it will just open up in another thing. Here, for example, I have a Loom recording embedded in ClickUp. All you need to do is just adding the Loom link, but I just want to show you how this looks like. Very basic, how, the checklist that we use in order to ensure that everything works, the assignment, the automatic assignment in our page and so on. So these are general things that are not part of any process, but apply to the overall work stream. So now let's get into one of the process steps, which would be, for example, create the actual blog post, creating the draft, right? Here, for example, I used Snagit to create this snippet, not a full screenshot nobody can see and need to zoom in. Always try to point people to what they should look at. I added an arrow, so it should be clear when you click here, they should add blog draft, right? So this is important, the rationale behind this, why we are doing this, rules for hyperlinks and so on. And then we have a template for new blog posts. So this template is just part of the SOP. So when you open this up, you see as well, here's the template, and this makes it very easy to have a common structure for each and any blog post that we create, so they stay consistent in quality and the structure and everything. So after making a few blog posts, we created this out. And this is very important as well. Don't try now to go to your workstream and create all these SOPs out of the scratch and try to fill it in with all the information that you think should be in there. Getting to this point took us 3+ months in order to finish and complete this work stream, and having now the production of the interview blog posts on a weekly recurring basis. This took 3+ months and is still ongoing because you will always hit a ceiling at some point. You find some bottlenecks and so on, and you can optimize. And this is why it's so important to stay flexible and only have a high-level overview. If you have a very complex work stream here and you want to change things, you have to change a lot. Here, it's unlikely that the main process steps will change. So this makes it so much easier to maintain our workstream overview, and we always can go back into our SOPs and maybe one of the chapters change and then we update this chapter. But again, when you look here, you see this is just some bullet points. There's not much text, right, that we have in here. Okay, so you have other things, we could do the interview. There could be a template, standard questions that I'm asking, create community event, everything that you saw inside this workstream is reflected here. Okay, I think once you have this in place, this is already huge. I think you, and more importantly, your team and your boss are all clear what you are working on. And you can create different work streams. So you could zoom out on this whiteboard and add all the different work streams here and connect them even and go fancy. Or you can have one whiteboard per work stream. Doesn't matter. So, and now I want to show you how you can leverage the simplified workstream that you have right here and get different perspectives on it to get even clearer how this workstream works and become more complex later on instead of being complex in the very beginning. And therefore we are starting to use swim lanes, that's called. And what this means you will see in a second here. So here we have a responsibility swim lane chart or diagram. And this looks very complex at a glance, but in fact, it is exactly the same that we have above here. So we have the create community blog post to interview and so on. All we do is, and these are the different swim lanes, and having a tool like Miro, you can go now and pick this and move it around and you see the information stays the same, right? This is the advantage of having tools like Miro where you can reorder stuff and you're not breaking the diagrams, just as a side note. But you see, this is Team Solid right now. It's me, Lila and Alessandro, and we are working on this interview blog post each week, and this is how it works. The interviewee booked an event, then it goes to me and I create a community event post. I do the interview, I do the edit recording, and then it goes to creating a blog post. So Lila is doing this. She goes through the interview and creates the blog post out of this, and then this goes into a review process to Alessandro. He makes some edits there in a blog post as well, and then it goes to me for approval. So if I'm not happy, it's not approved, so it goes back to Lila, and this stays in a loop until the quality is where we have it. Luckily, it's usually always the quality that we want to have it, because we have other SOPs and we have other measures where we say we have a certain level of quality that we always want to achieve, and all of us, we are aligned on how this should look like. So I'm very happy that this approval process is usually very quickly done. And then once the blog post is created, she will create social media posts out of this, and then again the same process. It goes into review for Alessandro, to me for approval, and if it is not approved, we stay in the loop. Otherwise, it moves forward, and there we have the upload, schedule blog post, upload and schedule social media posts. Creating a responsibility chart like this one shows you all the things that you have to do as a CEO. Obviously, me as a CEO of the company, from this perspective, I'm doing far too many things here. So many things that I could then say, okay, actually, well, I will always do the interview, right? But what about the recording edit? This could be done by somebody else. So I could easily go in here later on, add another lane, add a new person, and then I just use this interview and just move it down here. And this is how it would look like then later on. So again, the very simple work stream that I have here can become more complex here. But by having it this way, everybody who is reading this will much easier dive into this chart by having seen this chart before. I hope this makes sense. Okay, if we go further down, there's another thing. What about tools? How do I define what tools do we use? And again, you can leverage swim lanes in order to do this, and your simplified workstream. So I have this down here, and you see here the whole tool stack for the whole workstream. So let's quickly go through this. We have Calendly for people to sign up for an interview. So as soon the interview booked an event, and this is why it's set here in automation, this is an automatic thing that happens here. Calendly, person books interview, then Make, formerly Integromat, an automation platform, creates a task inside ClickUp. So what this means, it creates a task in here. So as soon as somebody signs up, it will be here and scheduled. And then in Circle, this is the platform we have for our community. We create a community event post to inform the members that there will be an interview. Then StreamYard is where we have the interview. Descript is the editing platform there for editing the interview. A ClickUp is where we actually create the blog post and create the Medium posts, and these get published on WordPress on the main website later on, and done. And having this also gives you a very clear understanding what tools you use. Again, you can replace this. You can then easily add a new lane there and say, okay, there's something in between. Very easy to update this way. So I think this should give you a big advantage in your business, in your work life, if you get a clear mind on how you work, how your team should work. This is already setting conventions, setting definitions how you work. We will talk about priorities and other conventions in the output module later on in more detail, how you can optimize teamwork. But having this before you even think about task management and so on, this is essential, because this way you can follow the golden thread to the ultimate goal that you set there. Okay, and I mentioned it already. So think about what is the single source of truth for your workstream information. So this means, where will you have the overview of your workstream, the diagram, and where will you have the SOP that describes the different process steps. So in my case, this is Miro and ClickUp. Maybe if you watch this course on a different plane, this might have changed. Maybe there's Asana, maybe there's a different tool that came out where we thought, okay, let's switch because it's worth it. It's just important to understand ICOR is a tool agnostic approach. When you realize these structures, the tools no longer matter. You just pick the tools that work best for your specific use case, what you prefer, just by the looks and so on. But you will realize it doesn't matter what tool you will pick, you will always get the same outcome here. And in my opinion, I always look for tools that are great to integrate with each other. So in this case, as you've seen before, we have Miro for the diagram that is embeddable inside ClickUp, or for example Loom for the video recordings that I can embed inside the SOPs and so on. So this is the reason why I picked these tools and why I love using Miro and so on. So that's just about it. As a bonus to the session, I also want to show you how far you can get when you apply ICOR end to end. And I think it's a good situation because you saw just a work stream, you saw the different SOPs and so on. Now let's see where the magic happens, how this looks like, right? So let's go into ClickUp. And you saw this list already before. And I just want to show you what happens when a person signs up for an interview, right? So we say new person, and you saw this in the work stream, it's automatic. So when a person signs up on Calendly, it will create this task inside ClickUp and it will add it here to scheduled. It will add some information. It will automatically assign me to this task. It will set it to high, so it's goal related. What this means we learn in the output part of ICOR. And then it's in a state scheduled, and that's it. So this is the task that would be created if a person signs up. And the interview date will be added automatically as well. So let's just pick any date now for today, for example. But this will be also automatically already added. So what this helps me already, I can go to the interview calendar, which is just a different view of the list that we just saw there. And now I see exactly where each interview happens. So this is the interview that we just created, and these are the upcoming interviews now. So I can click on this and I can go to the task and work on the task, right? So going back here, I want to say when it will be released. So I could now look here when the last one will be released, but I can also again go to the release calendar, and at a glance, I see directly, okay, the last publication will be on April 11th. So I cannot do any earlier than April 18th. On the side, you see here the unscheduled events. So I see the new person. I can now just pick this and say, okay, let's schedule this for publication. So the final blog post should be published on April 18th, right? So how does it look on the list again? Going back here, you see now new person, April 18th is already set. So again, this is just in ClickUp, but in so many other project management tools, you can do this the same way. In the meantime, you can just have a different perspective on your lists, on your data. And this is why it's so important to have, for example, these different dates and things like this in order to visualize it in different ways. Okay, but about automations. Everything is set up so we have as less friction managing the tasks as possible. And we will talk about this more in the refined part of ICOR, because I always say try to get started and make manual work first before you automate this. But just very quickly, I will go through this and I will go much more in detail about this in the refine part of ICOR, where we talk about workflow optimization and workflow automation. So in this case, ClickUp provides you integrated automations. This could be also done with Zapier, with Make, with other tools that allow this. If you're in Monday or in Asana, they also have automations like this. And all I set up here is whenever these fields, the state field changes, apply different people. And going back to our workstream, this is what we need to see here. We know exactly the different process steps and who is working on these steps in the meantime. So let's see how this is reflected in our list now. If the new person, we schedule the event. I did the interview, it's finished, so this means the video is recorded and it goes to the next step. So you see it switched to video recorded. It's still me because I'm editing the video. Okay, I edited the video, I will change it to the next section, so it will jump to video edited. See, and what you saw here, it switched automatically to my team member Leela. She is now starting to work on a blog post. Did you see that? I just changed the state and I did nothing else. I didn't need to think about who I need to assign and so on, and maybe I forget to assign, this person is not informed and so on. I just switched one block, and this is very important. Then block and review means when she finished creating the draft and Alessandro will do the review. Going back here again, this is this process, it's the review process. So he finished the block review and then he says ready for publish. So this means for Leela that she can now create the social media posts. So she can create the social media posts. Once she created a social media, marketing and review, again, Alessandro will check the social media posts and optimize them. And once he reviewed it, it's finally for approval to me. So this is the final check that I do. And this is also the moment where I will upload it to the platform and set the social media posts and so on. And then I set it to published. And what this does, it will publish it, you see it here. And now all three of us are assigned. Why? Because we all three worked on this. And when it comes to KPIs, tracking who is finishing tasks and who worked on different tasks together, I want everybody to be accounted into this KPI. And this is why we have it in here. So I hope this gave you some idea how this can work. And you see it on the paperless movement, how we publish this every week. And this is just one work stream. And now I could grow my team, having different people for the different process steps. We can scale from there because we also track the time. Looking here, for example, we know how long it takes to do the different blog posts. Now we have KPIs that we could use in order to go back and say, okay, let's hire you for double the time per month. And this would allow us to do actually 2 blog posts per week, right? So these are the things that you can get out of having the simplified version of your workstream. It all starts with the end goal in mind, the end event, the final product, and creating the simplified workstream. This is it, nothing more. Keep it simple. So I'm really excited to see what you will come up with, how you will create your work streams. And please let me know in the comments below this action how it is going, if you need any help, because we are here for you to succeed with your digital productivity system. Alright, now that you watched